Folks, what's up? This is DJL7. Today I'm alive with another U.S. presidential candidate, and to tell you the truth, I'm a big fan of Susan. We've actually worked for several years now. There's a lot of candidates that I've worked with over the years that talk about change, and then they kind of drop away after they don't win, and they just disappear because they're not really committed to change. But Susan's someone who's actually been extremely dedicated. I'm a huge fan of hers. Uh, we're not going to agree on everything, positions or priorities with that's true for anybody, even myself and yourself, right? But I believe that Susan's heart is really in this, and she's really someone who has a lot of authenticity. I think she's definitely worth. I'm so happy that she's here today. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself right quick. Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, thank you that I can be here and do this today. I appreciate it, DJL7. So yes, I am Susan Buchser Lochocki, also known as Susan B. Lochocki or Susan B for short, and I am running for president of the United States as a write-in candidate. But I'm not just a write-in candidate, I'm also a unregistered write-in candidate. I'm also unaffiliated currently, although the FEC, they keep changing my paperwork. So FEC has me down as Republican right now. And I think part of that is that if you change party or change things in the middle of an election process, you get automatically disqualified in some states. So I think that has to stick like that for now with the FEC. But I am officially, in my mind, I'm what Google says, which is I'm unaffiliated, unregistered presidential candidate and a write-in candidate. So anyway, hi, nice to be here, nice to see you. And
How's it
I
going, Susan?
am
Also,
living.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm living in West Virginia currently. I started my life in California on a Travis Air Force Base, and then my father was in the Air Force, so we moved around a bit, and I went to Guam for 2 years. And then from there, my father retired, and we moved to Rochester, New York area, to Pittsford, a small suburb. And then I spent my teenage years there. And then I eventually took myself off to art school in New York City and Parsons School of Design. It's part of the New School for Social Research. And I did my undergraduate studies there, got a BFA, and then I did the struggling artist concept for a while. Uh, After a while, I got tired of being a struggling artist. And, right after I graduated, they started putting computers in the art school too. So I was like the last class through without computers. So then I had to learn computers, of course. So then I put myself into debt. I had student loan debt already from Parsons, but I even went further into debt just so I could learn typing and word processing and get a job at a place where I could get health care. So I got a job as a receptionist at a bank, and they liked me so much they started promoting me and getting me into other positions. So I eventually got my Series 7 and 63. These are licenses to be like a stockbroker or some sort of insurance or financial advisor. And so I did that for a little bit, but I'm just not good at banking either. But eventually, I was doing like two things: doing art and doing banking, and working a little bit at Pizzeria Uno. So I did, the struggling artist for a while. And then I finally was at a point where, I needed a change. And then I met this really nice guy. And he said, I'm from Switzerland and I don't want to live in the US. Would you like to come to Switzerland with me and have a family and whatnot? And I was like, well, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So I went off to Switzerland and I learned Swiss German. At first, I started with High German, and I know for people who don't know German at all, you don't know there's a difference, but there is. And we started a family. We had some tough times. Our first child, our son, he died after one day. And then we had a second child who was doing well, but then at 3, she got leukemia. And then at 7, she got leukemia again. And so I don't know, you know, what was going on. But anyway, we didn't have an easy time with our family life, but our daughter is still alive today. She's over 21 and living her own life now. So I'm really happy about that. However, I continued or got back into art then for a while in Switzerland. And I had my mom's groups and my English groups and my German groups and everything. And as my daughter got older, I got really back into art, and I started an art project called Smile for Peace, It's Enough Already. It was during all the terrorist attacks, actually, that were going on all over Europe back in like 2016, 2015, something like that, when the Syrian refugees were also coming over. And I just, for me, I had enough of all the terrorism, especially as a mother, and having a daughter. So actually, at the time, one of the catalysts for the beginning of that project was, um, my daughter was supposed to go to the Ariana Grande concert in Zurich, Switzerland, the one right after the Manchester concert where the bombing took place. And so, with that happening so close, and the fact that my daughter was going to be at an Ariana Grande concert where that could have happened to her, I was like, wait, I really got to step up and do something about this. So I started really working on this project of promoting peace between people of different religions and the non-religious. Collecting smiles is what I do, and I work with them digitally, and then I put them into 2 and 3-dimensional works. I also now do some drawings called smile doodles too. But anyways, so I have had shows all over Switzerland, certainly, and even a little in Germany. And I've done a few things here in the US, in West Virginia too. So, I'm still working on it from the artist side, but I'm also, I got into politics back in 2019 to run for president the first time in 2020, because it was the 100-year anniversary of women's rights to vote, and I thought women should be running for president. But then also, I got in it because I was done with this big project I did at Cabaret Voltaire in Zurich, Switzerland, the home of Dadaism. I did something called Dada Stock. It was the 50-year anniversary of Woodstock, and I wanted to celebrate it in this place that is a shrine to Dadaism and everything, and bring the peace movements together in this weekend celebration. So I did that, but then afterwards I was like, how can I promote peace and get paid for it? Because the problem is, I'm still not getting paid a lot being an artist. And so I was like, well, and I must say this, for me, it's not so much making money that's the important thing. It's making people think. And my artwork definitely does that. And I've had it in various places that really brought a lot of people to a new understanding. But the real thing is, I do need to start making money from my art or from promoting peace. And at the time I asked myself, well, is it more art that I'm making, or is it more peace that I want to bring? And I decided it was peace. And I said to myself, well, what is the best job I can have to promote peace in the world and the peace between the religions and everything? And I thought, well, being president of the United States, you get paid a salary and you can promote peace and bring peace and unity to all of us. So that's what really got me started in this whole process of being a politician. I actually never ever really thought about it before. I mean, as a US citizen, it was always said anybody can be president. So I did believe that, and I've never really thought of myself like during the I so it's complicated, but I never really thought, well, because I'm a woman I can't be president. That thought never crossed my mind. I think US citizens will pick somebody who is the best person for the country regardless of gender.
If
I've
I could
never really.
I believe you ran
Sorry.
for I believe when you ran for president as a Green Party member, as a Green Party candidate.
Yes. So I went through all the parties, and I had a little bit of each one of them in my platform, which is very focused on families, mothers, and education. But I found that the Green Party, they put real peace in their message. That's one of their pillars. And
And
that's why I
actually,
picked the
just to
Green
insert,
Party.
I'm so sorry, just to interrupt for a second, but I
No
think that you're
worries.
particularly relevant because of your experience of running as a Green Party presidential candidate, also running for Congress, and also again now as an independent. You've been through the process several times, and you have unique knowledge and uniquely qualified knowledge in this particular realm. Also, one thing I just want to mention too, before we go too far off the subject, was before you talked about your commitment towards peace, and I have to admit that before I had a peace for forgotten nations, and out of all the camps that I worked with, you were really the one who was able to bring in someone from Iran to bring their actual, perspective in. And you've been a productive partner in a unique way and a uniquely qualified way, more than other partners that I've worked with. So I really appreciate your, and you could go look back at the body of work once again. Susan is a very, she's definitely committed because she's actually creating unique value for my projects that other cans are not. So thanks again. I just want to put that in there before, we switch to another topic so people know just you're more than just talk. Thank you.
You're welcome, because I know how it is, and if we don't help each other out, nothing's going to change anyways. So you've helped me to expose me to people that I didn't have access to, and I'm helping you to get you content and also access to people that you're not usually in contact with. So yeah, so living abroad in Switzerland, I was part of the American Women's Club there, but I'm also, and I still am, but I'm also a member of the Zurich International Women's Association, which puts me in contact with women from all over the planet. I know probably a woman in every single country personally. And if I don't know one, I know like somebody from the neighboring country. And so, and then I'm in the Unitarian Universalist religion, which is a religion that welcomes all religions to come and discuss religion together. And I love the Unitarian Universalists because that's who introduced me to my Iranian friend. You know, that we've got a diverse group in Basel, Switzerland. That's where we were set up. And but all over, I've also been to the retreats where again you meet even more people. I've got a friend now in the middle of Africa. He's from Rwanda. He's one of the Rwandan kids, who was left over after the massacres of the parents. So I've met some very interesting people, and this is why too, it's more some people said, oh, I should run for school board or something like that, but the truth is that I have international experience, which a lot of the other presidential candidates do not have. So I know people from all over the planet. I can access them and get real time information from them about their countries at any second of the day if I wanted. So I have this, so I should bring this. This is how I feel. I felt I should bring this to our country because I have that experience. I can do the school board later, because I can't walk into West Virginia and say, hey, you're doing it all wrong, because yeah, they've been doing it their way for a long time, and they don't want to. They're like, well, who are you? You're like some crazy woman from Switzerland. So
Just
that's not going to work.
I'm just going to mention right quick, there is actually another interview that I had with Susan where I asked pretty much the same questions. It's called Unified Platform for 22, when she was running for Congress. We'll be doing a lot of this material again because a lot of people haven't seen that interview, but we'll actually freestyle a little bit more and ask you about some of your particular, qualifications in this area. Now, just so you know, worldwide, I'm sorry to say, Korea is actually one of the president who got recently elected had a very strong anti-woman. There actually seems to be more of a right-wing band, and not necessarily right-wing, as maybe an anti-feminist type of movement that's sweeping the globe. And you know what? I think that there are some issues that should be addressed, but I also, believe that women are also getting the short end of the stick in some ways. I'm not necessarily sure I believe all of it, but from your perspective, right? I don't know if you've seen the same thing going on. Is there anti-woman movement kind of like going worldwide right now?
Well, yeah, there does seem to be a strong push towards Christian dominance and Christian male values. And so, I've been feeling that in West Virginia and in some places in the US. I don't know if it's really happening in Europe so much, but I think what happens in the US could possibly inspire or affect the rest of the globe. So it is important to keep tabs on that, and that's why my platform, which is very pro mother, actually. It's pro bringing mothers home, because taking them out of the home during the crucial time of raising children, we've seen what it does. It produces gangs, it produces rapes, it produces killings, shootings, mass shootings, drug addiction, just all sorts of bad things of society. So bullying too, and suicide. So we need to bring mothers home, but we don't just need to bring them home and say, well, do it on your own, because children can't pay their parents. They can't pay their mother, and the mother is actually working. So the only place where a mother can earn um, a salary is through the government, because she's producing a US citizen, not just a person who is just her child, but actually a US citizen. So she needs to get paid for that. And we've focused on women getting up and in the corporate ladders and everything like that, and we're doing it, and we've done it. We've started our own businesses. We've got women who are highly successful all over the place. But we're still looking everywhere but not at home. And this is crazy, because it's the most womanly thing we do, to not only get pregnant, be pregnant, birth a child, and then raise it. This is what women do. This is our niche in society. I mean, it's not the only niche we have, but it is a niche, and it's for 20 years. As soon as you have a child, you don't birth a 20-year-old, you birth a baby that needs 20 years to grow. And so, and to expect that somebody else, where is she getting her money from? So this is where we've all, I don't know, I mean, I haven't had really time, but I don't think any country pays their women to birth babies and to raise them. So we will be a leader in this. And people look to the US for leadership. So I think once, if I can get into office and if I can get this program started, then we will see all over the planet a lot of peace, actually, because right now we've got so much stress anyways in the families and everywhere, people all trying to make money and stamp, and be in the rat race, and it's not working. But if we
Okay,
bring moms home and we
just to let
pay
my
them to
viewers
raise their
know, this
kids,
is yeah,
then this
just to let
will
my viewers
affect
know,
the
this is
whole
something
world.
that that's actually part of your platform. I don't think that, like, I know you're talking about it with me, and I already know what you're talking about. A lot of my viewers may not actually know. The thing is that you actually, it's like a type of UBI or something, that you have an idea called, like, I think it's a big part of your platform, Mother's Pay or something like that. Can you tell us a little bit more
Mother's
about that
pay, yeah.
particular plan for people who don't really know
Yeah,
about what that means? Go ahead.
so what it means is, you get training. You'll be trained, how on, especially how to get pregnant, how to stay pregnant, eat properly. There's a whole program. And then also how to be a mother, how to raise your child. If your child has difficulties, how to deal with the difficulties, whether it's speech problems or physical problems or mental problems. So there will be all sorts of training, and training will be lifelong. And the point is, we need to get started. I've been wanting a think tank too to get together about this whole thing. But the real, I think I've decided what I'm going to call it, the Women's League. And girls, when they start getting their period around 12, 13, they can join in. They'll be like junior women's leaguers. And then they start also learning about their bodies and what a period is and how to be responsible, and then just take them through life, because men don't have this. Women have these huge changes, and we just, our job is our body a lot of times, and men just don't have that. So the other part of this all is, I also want to start an apprenticeship program for kids. I think this is one of the problems too. We've got a brain drain going on in the middle of our country, where we have people who don't know how to do electric or how to fix cars or whatever. So we need to train kids first when they're about 14 years old to be uh, to learn a profession. Now, some children, even like little girls, they might want to learn how to be a mom at that time. So there will also be an apprenticeship for becoming a mom for the ones who want to get started early. But sorry, I need to. I'm not used to talking so much. But anyway, so what we do need to do is get young people learning how to do electricity, how to do construction work, how to work in their community, work with adults, because we've separated children and teenagers, especially, from adults. And then they end up, waiting until they're 25 to actually get a job. And then they don't want to work. So we've got a whole bunch of people who need to learn how to work. And I think also our current education system does no favors to young men. Around the age of 14, 15 is when a lot of them start getting into delinquent sort of behaviors, because they're frustrated because they want to get out and get started, but the school is holding them back and forcing them to read books, and that's just not in their style. They need to get started. They want to work on cars. They want to work on, construction sites. They could also work in like a hospital and learn nursing or learn becoming a specialist in something, but they need to get started. And so, I think leaving them together the way we're doing right now and forcing them there, also without a lot of parental you know uh, advice or parents being around because they have to go work, right? We have these gangs set up and these bullying things going on, and it's we've I don't think we could have hurt our children more than we've done. I don't think we could have caused more problems in their lives than what we did to them. So it's, bringing moms home and having young people, 14, 15, start working and learning a job. So they work like 3 days a week, and then they go to school 1 to 2 days to learn the technical things that they need for that job. They might need some math or science
All right, so
or
just so you know, generally I do try to start the this particular. I know we've taken some like little asides, but let's really spend. First of all, you the first half of the interview let the my audience get to know you as a candidate, and the last half I really talk about your policies. Right? We're actually already. I think we started about 11, but it's actually almost 11:37 right now. So we've already spent more than half the time already talking about policies. Let's get to really understand who Susan. If you did a great like beginning write up about of yourself, talk about your background, your international background, the many jobs that you've had that give you a good amount of experience. So let's talk about what's the first thing that got you into the political realm. What right? That's usually helps us to understand who you are as a person. So, what is the first political topic that you worked on, or that got you into this whole thing?
well, like I said, I got in for peace and for a salary. And because I decided it wasn't art that was important to me, it was actually bringing peace. It wasn't even just advising peace or inspiring peace in others and unity, but I decided no, I can
That,
bring peace.
that's a good answer.
So
So so let's talk about do you have some politicians have like a certain ideology? Like I think that what's her name? Andrea Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is famous for being a socialist. Now the thing is that you may have a certain ideology, socialism, maybe conservatism, maybe liberalism, maybe there's a lot of different different labels. Do you have any particular political ideologies that you subscribe to?
I think best way to describe me is a traditionalist. So I'm not conservative. I am a traditionalist. I believe in a lot of traditions and keeping things and keeping traditions and changing very little, but changing what needs to be changed. So I believe in small government too, and I see the point of capitalism. I think we use it a bit too much, and like I said, I think once we pay women to be mothers, then I think we'll have a society that is really working for all of us. The other thing I want to do, because I think dads spend a lot of time working and they don't have time to enjoy their family. So I want to pay fathers to spend 1 day a week being a father. And so these are the two things that I want to do that will help create a more uh, happy space, or just bring back family, basically. What family is, for me, is might not be what family is for you, but I want to give men the opportunities to be a father once a week And I definitely want women or mothers being home. Of course, that job can change because in certain
I'm glad you
partnerships
mentioned that
out there,
because yeah, you do have actually, right, your mother's pay actually the men are also included somewhat in your program, which was going to mention before, but you did actually mention it now. Now the
yeah,
thing is that when we
and
talk about your different ideologies, right? I believe you said family, you said traditionalist. Now the thing is that there's different people that may have been influential to your ideology. Maybe Susan B. Anthony, a famous, or maybe someone else, right? You're actually also you often name Susan B. Lochocki, which is actually maybe a tribute to that name, maybe in some respects. But is it someone who's been influential to your ideological thought?
uh well, I mean, I actually didn't know a lot about Susan B. Anthony. Oddly enough, she was a Unitarian, so she's also part of one of the ones in my sort of religion. And then in her day and age, and then she's also from Rochester, New York, which I also didn't know. So it's a little odd that we're together. And my name is similar. I mean, the B I got because I got married. Otherwise, I would be Susan Maud Lochocki, before I got married. So there was no real reference to her at that time. But because I got married, my married name was Buchser. And so, anyways, so I'm Susan B now. And she also worked on votes, not just for women, but for Black people. So she was an abolitionist. And it's odd that I'm also working on the voting problems, with the registering to vote and how it's unconstitutional. And I have that lawsuit still pending with the Supreme Court, so hopefully we'll hear something about that. That was not on purpose that I got involved with votes. It's just happened as I was running for Congress. I realized the fraud in the system, and I said, well, there's no point in going forward because everybody in office is illegally there. They've all been manipulated there with these fake names and the fraudulent practices in this thing called registering to vote list.
So
There's no
sometimes,
checks
right?
and balances.
Sometimes someone didn't really inspire you in the beginning, but sometimes through your journey, you found like someone else who like influenced you, or you found people with particular who was influential to yourself, or you found relevant. So it sounds like this has happened with Susan B. Anthony. But are there other people that have been really, maybe she's really a big influence, maybe she's not, but who have been the most influential
Well,
people that have come across your way politically?
as a presidential candidate, past presidents that I admire are Lincoln, George Washington, and Theodore Roosevelt. And I understand now that Theodore got a lot of his ideas from McKinley, who was his actual the president, and then he was assassinated, and then Theodore Roosevelt took his place. So all of these, so at least Lincoln, McKinley, and Theodore Roosevelt, they were all Republicans, and the Republican Party is the one who voted for the 19th Amendment to pass. So when I was picking, I wanted to try a big party when I was running for Congress. So I picked the Republican Party. I also think that they're the most family-oriented party out of all the parties there. So I had switched over for this second election that I got involved with in 2022 with the Republicans because I wanted to see what it was like. And it was a good experience. And what I noticed is I don't look at parties because there are good people everywhere. But then there are a lot of bad people, and power corrupts. So this is a big problem. We need to, I think I've seen a different way of running a country so in Switzerland, they have like a board of directors of their country. And every year, somebody new is president. So it's no longer this idle president. Every year somebody new is president, and it's just a figurehead sort of job for that year. You go around and you meet with whoever, and so it's not at all like our process. And it might be that we may want to change our ways a little bit, but that's a whole nother, that goes into my government reform because I have
I appreciate that,
I
right? Yeah.
have
So
different ideas about that.
sometimes it's not just one person. Sometimes it's like like whole countries, or like different like methods and systems that have shaped your thought, which is pretty cool. Now the thing is that there's different people. Can't I've actually interviewed many candidates who come across my way, and there's certain things that right. A lot of everybody has an idea. Everybody has different thoughts and stuff and opinions, but there's certain people that actually have been proven to be effective in certain ways, or have accomplished certain things that show their area of expertise. So sometimes when I ask people, I say, what are you most proud of accomplishing? They'll say like my kids. And maybe for you that's relevant, especially considering your mother's plan and things like that. But I'm going to ask, like, as terms of management or in terms of like political or organizing, what is actually the most relevant, right? What are you most proud of accomplishing as in terms of towards being president?
My kids. It's
Anything else?
true. You know,
Yeah.
if you don't have kids, you don't maybe understand it. But
No, I don't.
truly,
I don't think I will
having
have
children.
kids.
Sorry?
I don't. I don't have kids, and I don't think I'll get to have kids. Actually, I had an argument with my co-host Lisa last night. She was talking about Melina Abdullah, who's actually she's like, oh, she's a mother. I'm like, well, she's taking care of kids. How does she have time to take care of these issues like vice president, like I do? She doesn't have the time to really write. I know it opens up a certain perspective, but she gets to have kids. I don't, and while that's is something that gets to be, it is important to take care of people who have kids. It's also important to take care of people who don't have kids, and a lot of times men are seen as expendable because of this. And actually, sometimes we get jobs in construction because our deaths are not highly as and it actually works both ways, because the thing is that unfortunately, right, when we have drug commercials, right, I was a model management, I was in model management. The thing is that they don't trust the drugs on women, right? But the thing is that in the commercials, they use a lot of women in the commercials because it implies that the drug is safer. So there's this actually gets misused in multiple ways. These, and that's a deeper conversation, but you're right. People who have kids should be, they do have a valid different perspective, but the people that don't have kids also have a very valid perspective as well that should not be forgotten about.
Well, that's true. And actually, with my program that I'm planning, if a man wants to be a mother, he can sign up to be a mother, you know, if you want. There are kids out there to adopt, or maybe there's some eggs where you can purchase some eggs and I don't know, have your own baby, you know? I mean, not literally, but
Yeah,
you'll
when you
have a
look at the
surrogate, of
it
course.
might be some of that, but honestly, the if you take a look at like the Koreans have the lowest birth rates in the world, our people may soon be going extinct. We have the lowest birth rates in recorded history. We're about to see more people will die of the low birth rate in Korea than the So there is some idea of like adopting stuff like that, but the actual
There
disappearance by people, more people may die from the Black Plague. More people, Koreans will disappear than from the Black Plague. Our population may literally go extinct within a couple generations because
Well,
of the
I
low birth.
know quite a few Koreans all over the planet, and they're having children. So if the people in Korea are not having children, that might be, but in North Korea, are they having children? So I
They
don't
actually
know.
have a higher birth rate than South Korea, but actually within my own direct experience and family and people that I know, there's actually very few Koreans that have any kids at all. So maybe like they're having them other places, but within my direct
Well,
experience, even Korean Americans here, very low, very low, almost.
so I want to say two things. First off, I some of my best friends have always been Koreans, I have to admit. So I like Koreans a lot,
Appreciate it.
and I know different ones, right? Like you know. That's why we get along so well.
Yeah.
Anyways, um, then I would say that I do know your culture is pretty um how can I say it? You have to succeed
Yeah,
is very, yeah. And
you're absolutely
so
right.
succeeding does not mean having children. It means being a professional success. And this is where the
You
problem
understand.
lies.
You
So
understand.
as soon as the US takes my platform and we start paying mothers, the Koreans will start staying home and being mothers and having children. And we got to get rid of this tiger mom stuff. It's not, I don't think it's healthy. I don't think
I
it's healthy.
appreciate
I
that
mean,
so much. You don't even know. I really do. You really hit the nail on the head just as far as I'm concerned. You really got it. You're damn right.
e-
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm
exactly.
starting that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
job,
So,
Susan.
I am the solution for, we need children. We do. We all do. And it would be wonderful. And you can be a mom, DJ Elf 7, if you
But
want. You
I'm a
can
little
be a
old.
mom.
Maybe I prefer to be a father. Yeah, but I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I
Well,
appreciate that. Thank you. That's quite inclusive. I appreciate that. Thank you. All
exactly.
right. So let's
Yeah.
get back to yourself, right? Thank you. I'm sorry to take that little aside right there. So in terms of your accomplishments, your kids, that's pretty cool. I know that is actually a central part of your theme. So usually I push back on that, but that is part of your thing, and you did a great job at
Well,
answering that. So now, go
can
ahead.
I say something? Wait,
Absolutely.
because I mean, it's not just, I mean, yes, children are wonderful, and yes, raising them, because the point is that you don't just raise them in one day. It's a process. You become also a mother. You're not born a mother, you become a mother. And you sort of both grow at the same time. And also then if you have multiple kids, then you grow with all of them. But the real thing too, what maybe will help some of you understand, is my daughter had leukemia twice before she was 10 years old. So I had a lot of work. I had, just, you have no idea what it's like to be a mother of a terminally ill child twice. I mean, the first time she was really close to death for, she was probably only a few days away. And luckily the hospital was there and saved her. And then we brought her back to full strength. And it's not only me and the sacrifices I made and the things that I had to do and the extra work and everything. And also, I mean, I have to hats off to my ex-husband and his family too, and my family too in the US. Everybody pitched in to help out. But the courage inside of her too was breathtaking, to see her strive and want to succeed and get through these things. So we have uh, a huge experience between the two of us, especially because I was the one always on duty. And, the fact that it came back and then having to re-deal with that again, I mean, it was a lot. So, when I say I love being a mother and it's the best thing I ever did, I mean, I think that speaks volumes for the fact of being a mother, because how many mothers would say, if they had like a child who was hurt or something or disabled, how many mothers would say that they love that job? But we all do, because we know you can't give up. You gotta do it
I understand. Yeah.
no matter what. You have no choice, and you do it.
Yeah.
It's the best job in the world, no matter what happens. But
Yeah.
what hurts me the most is what's going on when I look at Israel right now and the things they're doing to the women and the mothers over there. This is unspeakable, unspeakable, barbaric. The Israelis are barbaric.
Yeah. And the what pushes you through is that hope for the future. But the people who don't have children, the people who see themselves losing out, see no future. And that feeling, right? Yeah, of having no future is extremely also stressful. You know what I mean? Like, I understand you, and I could see where you're going to go all out, try to take care of your kid. What happens if you have no kids? Like, you understand, that's also extremely disturbing. You see what I mean? There is no
Well,
future.
that's
It's
the
extremely
problem
disturbing.
is we need to blame our government right now, because they've made it impossible. They did this on purpose to make it impossible to create this chaos and hell that we have right now. And this is where we need good people in office making good decisions. And this is where I come in. This is where other people come in. But it's exactly what's needed. We
I'm so
need to
happy to partner with you
refocus
because
on family.
you captured it so exactly, right? We're so concerned about making money. We're so concerned about, right? Yeah, keeping those other things, right? The professional statuses, right? Getting college degrees, that we've actually forgotten about the family. We've forgotten about, right? The future, our children. We say we care about our kids, then we give them prison food. And the teachers are wanting about their pay, saying they're sacrificing themselves. They need to wake up. They're not. They really sold out our kids in huge ways. And we really need a values, that's just my opinion. So I'm so happy to be partnered with you, right? But we're going to actually, that really covers yourself as a candidate, right? Now we're going to actually learn more about your policies. Now, I like to put my partners first. and I do ask about their issues, and then we're going to move on to your own particular takes, which is actually pretty cool. You do have a unique vision and plan for the American people, which is, I think, quite exceptional. So let me ask about my partners first in terms of policy. First of all, I've been traditionally asking about Assange. Now he's actually been, um, I guess, he hasn't been pardoned, but he's been allowed to go free, right back to Australia, I guess. What's your take on what's happened with Assange right
Well, they claimed when they released him that he's served enough time.
now?
So
Yeah,
perhaps that is the case. I mean, this is the thing, these whistleblowers, if they would just come forward and sit through their trial, maybe it's not as dangerous or bad as they think. We had Chelsea Manning who sat through his trial and made it and did his time, and now or she did her time, or anyway, if you do something, you do have to face the consequences a little bit. And
okay,
I think Assange was in it anyways for publicity for his new website, and he got it. He got it for 20 years, right? So, sadly, we kept talking about him. So now that he's home, maybe we can stop talking about him. Uh,
interesting.
anyway, and
Okay,
I don't think he really released anything that we didn't. I mean, we know specifics now, but I don't think we learned anything new. And a lot of what was discovered is things that we watch from our Hollywood movies anyways. So I mean it doesn't say much for our society right now because we are a very violent society, but yeah, I think he milked that for what he could, and well, now we don't have to talk about him anymore.
that's fair. It's just good for us to get your, once again, we're not going to be on all positions or priorities, but it's good for us to understand, that. So another thing is, another people that I work with is the Yang Gang, and they had this idea UBI that they were pushing for a while. They seem to have backed off of it, but what's your position on UBI?
I think for men, I don't think it's a good idea. I think
Okay,
this father thing is a good idea, which will support men. If they don't want a lot in their life, they have a little bit of money, you know,
okay,
because I'll pay them for that one day. And then,
okay.
but I think men need um, to be, how can I say it?
Eating?
They need challenges because you don't have challenges. You don't get pregnant. You don't have this thing that comes to you and gives you all the challenges you could ever want. So men need something to focus on. They need a specialty. They need a purpose.
But
It's a
women don't need
purpose.
challenges?
Well, if we get pregnant and have a child, that's 20 years of challenges, right? So if we don't get pregnant, then we do need challenges. Then
If
we do
they,
also.
some women abandon their children, some women don't care about their children. Some of them do,
That's
but
in
some of them
our that's in our current society, right? Do you know
don't.
the
Okay,
stress level of being a mother in the United States, a single mother, especially if the man walks away? Come on now. Let's talk apples and apples, not apples and oranges. So we're talking about UBI
I would say
and
most,
giving men
almost all women, but there are some cases, some incidences where women will misuse their children for other things. I'm not saying that
in our
most women
current
will not.
society,
There are some who
in
will.
our current society, but it's very rare.
It is rare, but it
It's
does
very
happen.
rare. It's very rare. So
Okay,
what I will say is that
so UBI
if
for women, but not men.
sorry.
UBI for women, but not men.
Well, what it is I don't like the word UBI.
Okay, that's
So
fair.
what it is mother's pay. So
Okay,
if a woman is planning on becoming a mother, she goes through the program and gets trained, and she gets a salary during that time, and then she becomes a mother, and then you have a pay schedule for the whole time. A lot of men are in military, different branches in different ways. They're getting pay whether they're working or not. They're on reserve or whatever. So there is technically UBI already in the United States. You just have to go look
I
for
thought
it.
you were for peace. So how does this military thing work out with the peace thing?
Military doesn't have to be about war. So that's a
Okay,
Christian concept that was created by our Christian extremists who have been in power for a long time. They've turned our country into evangelical missionaries for Jesus. And this has to stop too. We're supposed to have separation of church and state. If you look at our Constitution, it clearly states that. But somehow, slowly, the term God and Jesus and Lord has been put into all of our documents, especially even in the oath to be in the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. So they're not doing it for country, they're doing it for God. And
It
this,
says, "In
we
God
need to
we trust,"
remove
right?
that.
Right? Yeah. In God we
That's
trust.
money.
Right on
That's
the
a
dollar.
whole,
Yeah.
yeah,
In God we trust.
exactly.
Right.
So we need to take the word God out of everything. If you're in the military, you're doing it for country. And my military in my world is a defensive one. It's one that takes care of the infrastructure. It's one that takes care of our borders and keeps everything running smoothly. It so I would like everybody to sign up, but I have to one step at a time. So I already know many men who are in the military in various ways, getting paychecks or they're in some sort of service. So there is technically UBI there, where you just have a little bit of duty to do, and then you get paid for it.
This
If
this
that's
sounds
not
just I do appreciate a lot of things you say, but I just want to say that it sounds very kind of DPRK like, because DPRK will mandatory put people into, right, if it's true, which I'm not sure it's true, but 10 to 20 years of military service, then they're out around the world doing work for free, right? Yeah, building infrastructure in other countries as a labor source, as a fundraising for the DPRK government. Um, do would you say it's similar to that, or would you say there's some kind of difference?
Well, I didn't know they were doing that, but actually, I mean, so we have the Peace Corps, we have our embassies, we have, um, military branches all over the planet. And my goal is to change our military from an aggressive missionary type of thing to a more peace promoting and defensive and culture promoting uh, um, core, where we're actually helping. So maybe a little bit, yeah. So where we've got Peace Corps anyways doing that already, going around the world and helping out in different places, whether they need teachers or whether they need a dam built. We're doing that already too ourselves. It's called the Peace Corps. And I
So I'll
think there's a
actually send you some
place.
information. We'll have a more discussions on it. Go ahead.
Sorry,
No, I
say
said
that
I'll
again.
send you some more information about what they're. I'll send you some more information about what they're doing, and then we'll have like deeper discussions about that. But it's good to understand your plans for, with the militaries, because I think a lot of people would think military is actually armies going out to like attack other countries. But yeah, from our discussions before, I know you're probably thinking of it more like the Peace Corps. Actually, what was that under World War II and Woodrow Wilson? No, was it Woodrow Wilson, or was it one of the Kennedys?
JF,
No,
JFK brought
Roosevelt.
the
Yeah.
JFK
With the
brought
New
to the
Deal.
Peace Corps.
Yeah, you're more like a New
Prior to
Dealer,
World
right? Yeah. Go ahead.
prior prior to World War One, we were a neutral country. We didn't get involved with wars. We had our own little wars going on, and that was it. And then World War One happened. We got involved a little bit, and then World War Two happened, and we got involved in a big way, and we lost our neutrality. And that's when the Christians also came in and started taking over and putting God into our national anthem and other things. And then John F. Kennedy came along and he set up a Peace Corps.
Right.
And so then we started moving towards peace during the 60s. But then, we had all this upheaval and other things in Vietnam and whatnot. And so the Christian extremists took over and they were trying to spread Christianity. So this is where we are today. We haven't gotten around that yet. We're still sort of doing that, forcing people to do, to follow our
But I appreciate
Christian
that. Yeah.
belief.
I'm glad that we
And
laid out that difference between the military, because I'm sure people need that to really get cleared up. So let's actually move on to another partner that I work with. The disabled, actually the second largest minority voting bloc in the nation. Right now, people with my disabilities are allowed to be paid sub minimum wage. And the thing is that maybe maybe less productive in certain aspects. Maybe they have to do federal subsidies or something like that. But a lot of times, minimum wage is tied to like a poverty lifestyle, would you actually support minimum wage life, at least minimally lifestyle for people with disabilities?
People with disabilities, and people who are hurt and also then have disabilities. So disabilities in general, whether they're birthed or if they come later in
Right.
life,
Yeah.
they need support 100%. And should they be working for minimum wage? No, probably not. They need also a reasonable lifestyle. And because I'm sure with all their disabilities, there's probably a lot of extra costs that go on too. So, they definitely, minimum wage is hardly enough for just a normal person to get by on, a teenager even. But I think minimum wage today should be, maybe we need to come up with one for the apprenticeships. Like there's a minimum apprenticeship wage that one would get if my apprenticeship program gets started and goes. Um, so there's like a minimum that teenagers will earn, but then the sky's the limit from there. And but I don't think the government should be involved with minimum wage so much as workers' rights. And so we have a Bill of Rights for humans for being a citizen, right? But we don't have workers' rights, and that's where I think we need to move to. So I propose that every worker, regardless of the type of work, needs an entire month off every year for a vacation. That doesn't mean that they go on vacation and use all their time at one time, although they could, but they should take, a day off here, a day off there. They have a whole month to use in a whole year
Sure.
to have a break from work.
I
It's for
understand. All right.
mental, and then, we got to get our healthcare system is completely out of control,
Okay,
and we
let's get
need
to
to get
the
a real.
we could talk about the healthcare system. I was really just asking specifically about one specific question with the disabilities. We can really talk about more of your plans at the end of the thing, but I want to get through
Okay.
my allies first and really stick to the
Yeah.
program as much as I can. So
Yeah.
the
But
next question has to be with my. Oh, you want to finish that? Go ahead.
oh no,
Okay, go ahead.
I'm done. I'm done. Well, I think I
Okay.
said enough.
Well,
So
we can talk really
I'm
about your
pro,
health plan, things like that. And I know actually I've heard of some of these things before, which is good. I do hear, I recognize the thing that you're trying to get at. I'm so sorry to cut those off, but one thing I do want to put my allies first, and I also want to get through the interview, and also because of this, the way that the questions are actually, just so you know, for people that are watching, my questions for all the candidates are the same, so you can compare the answers to one candidate to another. So if they're trying to compare you to another candidate and start to go into other things, then
I
it's going to
gotcha.
make it they might just actually, it's going to be harder for them to compare you with other candidates, right? So it is what it is.
Yep.
Let's and also the people that I work with, right? Like the other candidate, crews that I'm working with, they just want to answer to their question, right? Unfortunately, they're not really sometimes always so concerned about other global ideas of that, and hopefully they should be, and I think they should be, but
Hmm.
once again, I am putting them first. So okay, let's get to the another group that I work with, the trans community. And I think that we know that trans people face a lot of discrimination in housing and on the job and things like that. But sometimes they're taxpayers; they're also citizens. And the thing is that they are actually. So let's suppose that this is a hypothetical question. A lot of times, people who are trans actually end up needing public housing because they are actually. And by the way, you've also been a strong proponent for public housing. Actually, been one of the candidates I've worked with over the years that has really done more on that for more than anybody else. Just going to insert that in there, but just so thank you again for that. But once again, trans people may find themselves needing public housing, and some people don't agree with their lifestyle, whatever. Hey, that's their right. But whether you agree with their lifestyle or not, right? How will you assure this group fair access to government, programs such as public housing, even though there's no law that says there's no, you know, that says that you can't put trans people out of public housing. Actually, there's a law that says you can't discriminate in, in terms of home values, right? But we all know that black homes are worth less than white homes for this odd reason. And homes in minority communities become, the price goes down. So, right, this is technically illegal, but it still happens. So actually, in this hypothetical question, let's suppose that 10% of the people that are, these are made up numbers, 10% of the people applying for housing are trans. Then we go back and we see that only 2% of the people in public housing are actually trans. So we asked them what's going on. They said we're getting discriminated against, stuff like that. even though there's no law saying that you can discriminate against trans people, this is happening. As president, what would you do to actually protect these people and get them fair access to government services?
Well, in our current environment, we have illegal people in office, as you know, because of the registering to vote list that has illegal names. They've been manipulated there. And we have Christian evangelicals who have taken over our country, and they're pushing their agenda, which is not pro trans. So, as soon as we have real elections with real people, we'll start seeing a difference. The government, anything government related, should be non religious. So, anyone pushing their religious beliefs and being um, uh, discriminating against people because of whatever reason, uh, they need to be fired. They should not
Okay.
have that job. They
Just
can
to
work in the
know,
private sector and be prejudiced as much as they want, but not in my government. In my government, they have to be neutral.
okay, hidden in the question is this kind of like idea of quotas and things like that, right? Where like we said, 10% of the people are doing this, and then 2% is like that, right? What are your do you know, and in your answer, which is fine, right? Most people don't actually choose quotas, right? As you know, it's very uncommon for people to choose that. But when numbers are coming in, right? Yeah, and this kind of data is coming in that's suggesting one thing or another. Like, how do you actually, you know, process that data, and how do you use that data and
Then you
right?
fire the
Use that to
person.
correct things? Go ahead. Yeah.
You fire the person in charge because they're obviously using discrimination. And you hire people who are neutral. Period. That's not acceptable. I don't think quotas are really the answer. I mean, I think it's a guideline of how it should be, but I don't think, because you can't help who comes asking for help, So sometimes you might get an influx of people who are Jewish or people who are um, you know, mothers or people who are trans, but it could be all at different times. So there might be, sometimes it might go up to 20%, and then other times it might be done at 5. But as long as you're hearing from the people who are getting the housing or getting rejected from housing, as long as they don't feel that it was because of discrimination, um, regardless of what the discrimination is, they then it should be okay. But the job of government, anything, is to be neutral. And this is not what I'm seeing in our country. I've been traveling around the country, been to about 20 states now, and there's so much non-neutrality going on in our government buildings. It's shocking. So, we got huge problems here. Nobody's reading the Constitution. And that's part of the president's job, is to defend and protect the Constitution. And this is where we need to go. The past presidents have not been doing that, and we need to really get started. So that's part of really my platform, is to do that. As you know, I'm working with the Constitution constantly, making sure that we are in line with it, and we are not.
Now another group that I support, well, you know, maybe it's a low question, but there's something called right to repair. I don't know if you ever heard of this particular like idea, right to repair. There's actually a lot of like, you know, software developers. I think Adobe recently for actually, you know, saying that they get to own your work, right? If you use their software, things like that. Now we can see that car companies are actually trying to charge subscription model services for people to actually use the heated seats in their car, all kinds of other things. There's this actually attack on actually personal ownership. What are your, do you, would you, are you supporting the right to repair? We know phone companies are actually locking us off from repairing our devices. Are you supportive of right to
I
repair?
don't agree with it. We're free people. That's the whole concept, is we're supposed to be free. So you're free to go where you want to get your vehicles or your TV repaired or your mobile phone, or if you want to do it yourself, you should be able to. Of course, it depends on our limited amount of knowledge. So some things we will have to take someplace to get it fixed. But I don't agree with this. You have to go to a specific place unless we're dealing with like military weapons where there are certain special codes that are in there. Then we have to go back to the original place because they have the special technology. But I think the general public should not have to at all do anything like that. It's your car. Do what you want with it. It's your mobile phone. Do what you want with it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to get to actually a lot of the questions I ask at this point have actually already been answered in some ways, right? Because the thing is that the federal government, their biggest expenditures are in the military, entitlements, things like that, and you've actually addressed some of your issues on that. Now it's time for you to talk about your, I guess, any issues you haven't talked about yet. That's a part of your platform. I know actually you're very strong. If you go to susan4usa.com, you'll see actually that you're talking about we were actually hinted some about what's going on in the electoral process. I know you actually have a case in the Supreme Court right now that's actually waiting to be heard. So what other parts of your platform that we haven't addressed so far? You know, go ahead. It's your time to really talk about your own platform.
Okay, so as we were talking before going live, uh, I am running for president as a write-in candidate. And in a lot of states, they have a lot of like things that even restrictions on that, which technically they don't have the right to. If you read the Constitution, the states don't have a right to restrict my right to be a write-in candidate. So I am, most of the time when I fill out the documents, I just cross that stuff off and I sign it, and they've accepted it so far. So currently I am available to be a write-in candidate in these states: Alabama, Iowa, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Wyoming, and Wisconsin. I am currently on the list in Indiana and Florida, but that will only last if I get electors. So in those two states, they want me to have something called an elector. And we all heard about this thing called electoral college. And that's what an elector does. You are an elector, and the electoral college gets together in December and votes in every presidential election for the president who won their state, or who is in charge of their who they said they were going to vote for. So how it works is on December 17th in all the states, all the electors in all the states will either get together or get together on Zoom, and they will place their vote for their candidate. And so I need electors for my candidacy to become president. So let's say that I win in West Virginia. West Virginia has 4 electoral college votes. So for West Virginia, we put in 4. And so I need 4 people in West Virginia who will say, I am going to vote for you, Susan, in December. If the popular vote of West Virginia goes for you, I will vote for you. And so um, I have here my website, which is susan4electors@gmail.com. So I need an email from anyone who might want to be my elector, who will promise to vote for me if I win your state, or if I win like West Virginia. You promise that from West Virginia you will meet up with the Secretary of State, I believe is what happens, and you will say, yes, I'm casting my vote for Susan, and then I will get your vote, and then those votes then get placed into an envelope and they're sent off to Congress, and then Congress convenes, I think on like the, I don't know, second Monday or something like that, to open those envelopes and then count and find out, and then we find out really who won the electoral college vote for real. We think that election day ends on November 5th, but it
Uh,
actually, the election part does, but then we have this electoral
just
college.
to maybe help you on this particular topic right here, I am actually sometimes in contact, like the Independent Party of Delaware. There's also the Progressive Party of Vermont. There's actually sometimes, I think that there's also Arizona. There was like an independent party that sprung up. There may be independent state parties that may be actually willing to help you when you're provide electors for you outside the Democrat or Republican system. And I'm sorry, the Greens and Libertarians have been completely co-opted. They are not really reliable partners so much anymore. But maybe independent state parties from those states might be able to actually give you a couple of electors that you need to get on the
Well,
be a
and
writing candidate.
anyone can be an elector, and that's what people don't understand. There's a lot. So first off, I want people to get involved with your election. Sign up
Yeah.
to be a poll worker. Sign up to count the votes. Be a part of it, because if you're not a part of it, then you're leaving the door open for manipulation and fraud. Okay,
So,
so
but some of these Democrats, Republicans, Greens, Libertarians, they already picked their horse, and they not ready to help, another candidate like yourself, because they already have, party leadership decided that they're supposed to support someone, often millionaires,
exactly.
often people that are part of the establishment, instead of someone like yourself who brings, whether even you agree with all the positions and priorities or not, right? Just having her as an option is good for democracy overall, and opens up the conversation to new ideas. I think it's worth
That
I think it's worth a shot to support,
that's
at least letting you run for as writing candidates. So once again, Indiana and you said Florida, I believe that there are some independent parties out there. Once again, right? I get what you're saying, right? It could be the Republican who's supporting as elector, but they'll be under pressure to support the horse that's tied to their party. So that's why I'm thinking the independent parties
I,
maybe
you
would be
don't have
more.
to be in a party to be an elector, period.
But they're
The
just
construction
but they're just
worker
usually
down
right.
the street,
Yeah, I feel you on
you
that.
have
Yeah,
to be
whether
a
you're
US
independent or not. Yeah,
citizen.
but they're
You
usually
have to be a
more
US.
politically minded to the point where they'll actually do something. Right? There's a lot of independents out there, but a lot of people don't follow up. A lot of people don't have that. There's actually an interesting discussion I was with the political world. You have like a little subset of people that are like super passionate about it, and then you have the great majority of people who don't give a crap. You know what I mean? So who's
Well,
gonna really make time for you to become an elector for you? Let's be real, right? People that are
it
probably
doesn't
already
take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of time to be an elector. I need you for 2 hours in December on the 17th. That's it. What I need is an email from you. So I need 5 minutes right now. I need an email with your name, your state, and your county. That's what I
and if
need.
you hit her up,
It's
Susan for electors at gmail.com, please do it, by the way. Please see me so I could see that this is being effective, right? I want to believe that this is helping somewhat. So
so
I
but
just from
I
25
need
years
them in the
experience, I
next 2 months.
have
I don't
trouble
need
believing
them.
you. But go ahead.
I don't, so I need electors now. I need this right now. In the next 2 months, I need as many electors from every state as possible. You don't have to be a college degree holder. You don't even have to be a graduate from high school. You just have to be over 18 and a US citizen. That's all. That's all I'm requiring. Send me an email with your name, your county, and what state you're living in, so I can make sure that I get you down. It's on a first come first serve basis. And the if I do win your state, and if you do elect me president, when I am in the White House or the People's House, however you want to call it, when I'm there, I'm inviting you and 5 of your friends and family to come and spend a day with me so you can see what a president does during the day. And then we're going to have together have dinner together. So
I'll
I'm then
I'll put you out
inviting you.
on my next email, which goes out to many people as well. Also, I think the Pirate Parties people that I started talking to recently, I will actually get in touch with. I'll try to look up some independent parties in Florida. I got someone who's down there. We're gonna see if that
Okay.
works out, but I'll try to get you some electors. We'll see. And once
Yeah,
again, right, if you have a mailing list, please, for her, and there's other candidates as well that are running, right? But like Alan, Kellen, or Matt Past, right? But once again, Susan, she has a body of work with this channel. She's actually done more. She actually has provided people for the World Peace Forum that we had here. She's the type of candidate who's run several times before. She is committed. So I know a lot of people other believe in these other candidates and stuff, and that's fine. But Susan is a veteran in this, so respect to her. Continued work on the issue. You can trust that she'll be probably doing this 2-3 years from now as well, right? Maybe even 10 years, 15 years. She's been very
I
dedicated.
well, I hope the next time we talk, have one of these interviews, that I'm actually in the White House and really bringing change for our country. That's my goal.
That
It's
would be
not
amazing.
just about campaigning. It's about bringing the change, right?
Appreciate that. Yeah. So the thing is that we talked about the electors. That's a big issue for Susan right now to actually run. So please help her with that. Is there anything else as in terms of your? We talked about your parent force. We talked about mother's pay. We talked about the military, right? About how that's going to be like a New Deal, right? Where you have the military, instead of hurting other countries, building infrastructure, things like that. Maybe like that type of plan. And we talked about your electoral work at the Supreme Court. Is there anything other major points of your platform that you want to address right now? Those are the
Yeah,
big. I think those are the big
we,
issues. Right there. Go ahead.
we got to get God out of our documents,
Oh
like I
yeah, that
said.
one as well.
So,
Oh,
so the military, the fact that they have to say an oath that says, something about God, I'm sorry, that
right,
our
separating
country
church
is
and
supposed
state.
to, exactly. So that's one of my priorities as soon as I get in, is to separate church and state.
Okay,
So
cool.
if
So
that's something for you, then I am your candidate for sure.
I think you had mentioned
Oh,
before Susan4USA.com. I'm going to see if I can bring that up on my screen right now and share
yep,
that with my
that's my
audience.
website.
That's
I'm also on
Susan4USA.com.
Facebook.
Go ahead.
I'm on Facebook. I've got my Twitter account open again. I got lots of videos on Twitter from my first campaign and from my campaign for Congress. I've on YouTube. I've got a channel with over 400 videos too from my first campaign, my congressional campaign, and my current campaign. So yeah, look me up. I'm everywhere. But my
Okay.
website is susan4usa.com, and that's the number 4.
Right. You can
So
see that up
Susan
here,
4. Yeah.
Susan4USA.com. Here's the links for Facebook or Instagram. The YouTube should be up soon. That link right there. Or you could just look her up once again, right? Yeah, Susan Buchser Lochocki. I believe the spelling is here somewhere, and you should be able to get that, right? So, or just email once again, right? Yeah, Susan for electors. She needs those real bad at gmail.com. Thank you for coming by. Yeah, just to share that real quick. Okay, and you can see right here, she actually is doing a lot as terms of taking on the electoral system, which is actually cooked and rigged in many ways. So, all right, cool. Let me just stop sharing that right there. Okay, thank you so much for coming by. Is there anything else that you want to say before we end the interview?
No, I think that should do it for now. Thank you that I could be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So going to be
And
also participating in our upcoming, I think on September 15th, we have a U.S. presidential debate, our third one, I think, coming up, and which is scheduled to happen right after Trump and whoever the Democratic nominee was going to be. That's going to be an interesting little thing going on. And once again, thanks to Susan. As the candidate, she's been exceptional as terms of helping out public housing, as terms of working with me to on world peace issues, and has been particularly productive as a candidate in ways that other candidates have not. So I think she's been a worthy ally. Thank you so much.
thank you. Have
All
a good
right,
day.
so I had to end stream right there. Okay, it's